Yes, we are now looking at another aspect of economics still under price theory. And this one is utility. Consumer behavior, and we are looking at utility. Utility. Yeah, this is a common terminology which is used in many places. If you are using these social services like a water supply, electricity, we normally call them utilities. But this time we are not looking at those utilities, we are looking at utility in economics. What is utility? Utility is the satisfaction, the amount of satisfaction a consumer derives from a commodity or a service in a given time. When you are consuming or using a service, the utility is that satisfaction it gives you when you consume or when you use that product. So that satisfaction you get is the utility. And this utility is very important because, as we said, we are looking at the consumer's behavior. How does the consumer behave? He behaves according to two things. The satisfaction he's going to get from the product as well as the price. He looks at the price and measures with the satisfaction and say, let me buy. So that's why we bring in utility, because it's a big determinant in the behavior of a consumer in a marketplace or within the market, or when he is using a service or buying a commodity. So utility is that satisfaction you get when you consume a product or when you use a product or when you use a service. So that is the utility. In economics, we bring it in, as I have said, because it is the one which is going to drive you to purchase what you are going to purchase. All the purchases that we make, all the buying that we make is originating from the satisfaction we expect to get from a product. If you realize that you are not going to get a good satisfaction from the product, most cases you may not be willing to buy the commodity. So that willingness we talked about in the definition of demand is driven by the rate or the status of satisfaction. That's when you are willing to pay a lot or to pay less. That willingness is bent or is depending on the satisfaction one looks at from a product or a service. And that is the driving force of the willingness. After that willingness, that's when you look for the ability. If you don't have the ability at the moment, you go back and work to be able to get that product. Why are you working very hard? Because the product you want to buy is going to give you a good satisfaction, which you have measured that this product is sold at 1,000. I have to work very hard, get the 1,000 and be able to get it. So your willingness is driven by the satisfaction you expect to get from a product. Satisfaction usually is based on the usefulness of the product. Because if a product is useful, that is when you are likely to feel that it will give you the satisfaction that you need. It is usually important to look at various products and the satisfaction the products will give you. And that is when a consumer will say, is the price fair? How much satisfaction am I getting from this product to be compared to pay this price? So price and satisfaction, they almost relate. You cannot pay unless you have measured how much you are going to gain or to get satisfied with the commodity. Satisfaction changes over time. So satisfaction changes over time. So when you go to a market, you look what the satisfaction you are going to get from the product, then your willingness will be determined from there. So we say this is the satisfaction obtained from consuming a given amount of a commodity. It is important to add on in a given time, because this satisfaction changes over time. It cannot be static, cannot be the same all the time. If you are hungry, you are likely to have a bigger satisfaction expected from eating the first plate of food. But as you go on eating, the satisfaction reduces. So the utility reduces. So in most cases, it is important to consider the time when you are buying the commodity. That satisfaction, we are looking at it in terms of time, because some commodities are consumed in a given time. If the time passes, the satisfaction you expect to get from that product keeps on reducing. Now, in utility, we have two major terminologies that we use. We have what we call total utility. Total utility. Total utility. This is the overall amount of satisfaction an individual derives from consuming a given commodity in a given period of time. The overall, the satisfaction you get from consuming, if you are eating mangoes, there is a basket of mangoes. The first mango definitely will give you bigger satisfaction. Then you take the second, the third, possibly on the fifth you say, I don't need any more. You just look at the mangoes because you feel they are no longer giving you the satisfaction that you were having before in those in those products. So total utility is the overall satisfaction obtained from consuming a given quantity or amount of a product, of a commodity. That is the total utility. After you have consumed item 1, 2, 3, 4, what is the total satisfaction that you have got from consuming those various units that you have consumed? In economics, we measure utility in the units called utils. Utils are the ones that are the units that you get. Utils are the measurement of the satisfaction. So if you consume a basket of commodities, the total satisfaction, or if you consume a full saucepan of food, that whole satisfaction you get is what we call total utility. What have you got out of consuming unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, unit 4? That is what we call total utility. Then another terminology that is also very important in economics is what we call marginal utility. Marginal utility. And this is the one which is going to determine your behavior in the market, in a shop. As you buy the commodities, it is going to be this marginal utility, which is very, very important. Marginal utility in economics is what we consider most. Total is important, yes, but marginal utility is very, very important in all what we are going to look at. The consumer behavior so much depends on the marginal utility. What is marginal utility? Marginal utility of a commodity is taken to be the extra satisfaction a consumer obtains, the extra consumption a consumer obtains from consuming an extra unit of a commodity. That is what we call marginal utility. The marginal utility is the extra, it's not extra consumption, extra satisfaction. This is extra consumption. Extra satisfaction. Extra satisfaction obtained from consuming extra unit of a product. Let me be very clear. So we are saying marginal utility is the extra satisfaction obtained from consuming an extra unit of a commodity. Extra unit of a commodity. So, marginal utility, we are looking at the extra utility, extra satisfaction, which you are going to get when you consume one extra unit of output or a commodity. And when we are starting, we say you have a basket of mangoes. Assuming you have 5 mangoes. When you consume the first mango, there is not an extra, but there is a satisfaction that you get, which is usually very high. This satisfaction is usually very high on the first mango, assuming you are very hungry. Lunch was supposed to be at 1 o'clock, and you have got it at 3. You are really very hungry, and someone brings you a very good mango. You start with it. The first mango is going to give you very high satisfaction, and you will not, I'm sorry to use the word greedy, you'll be so greedy, you'll be so excited consuming that first one. After finishing that first mango, they add you another one. The rate at which you are going to eat the second mango is not going to be the same rate you used while eating the first mango. Why? The satisfaction is going down. That extra mango is not giving you as much satisfaction as the first one. The first one had very high utility. It had very big value. You were expecting to get very big satisfaction from that mango, the first one. So they give you the first one, it is a high. Then you get the second one, it is also high but not very high. You get the third one. The third one is very low. Then by the time you get to the fourth one, there's almost no satisfaction. And when they give you the fifth one, you say, let me eat it tomorrow. Because the satisfaction is no longer coming to you. You don't feel now that you should eat. That means the satisfaction keeps on going down. So when we talk of marginal utility, we are looking at the extra satisfaction you get from the extra unit you are consuming. And this is very important to determine your behavior in the market where you are talking about a price. It's very, very important in the market. Marginal utility has a formula, because one time you may be given a figure and you need to calculate. It has a formula. Marginal utility is equal to change in total utility over change in the quantity, over change in the output or in the quantity of the commodity. This is the formula for calculating marginal utility. This triangle indicates stands for change. Change in total utility as a result of change in output. In other words, what has been the change in total utility, in utility, when you are consuming the second or the third or the fourth unit. So the change in output, how much change, how much change will you get, how much utility will you get from the change in total utility over change in quantity consumed, or you can call it product that you are consuming. So the change in the total utility that you are having over change in the quantity which you are consuming, which is a product. So marginal utility keeps on reducing as you consume more and more of a product. In other words, when you are starting to consume a product, the first item that you are consuming will have a higher utility than the second one and even than the third one. So it keeps on reducing, it keeps on going down as you consume more and more. That's when time comes and you say, I don't need this product anymore. I don't need to consume this anymore. You can use the common terminology, I'm tired of it. Because it is not giving you extra utility. You are not getting extra satisfaction, which is equivalent to what you have consumed. And time comes when this marginal utility will get to zero. It starts from up and goes down. It keeps on reducing. It goes to zero and even goes to negative. I think negative, that is the point when you have started even vomiting. It is now becoming a negative satisfaction because you have eaten and overeaten and you are no longer getting any satisfaction. It is at the maximum satisfaction. So, marginal utility has a diagram. It has a diagram, and we said that it is measured in UTILs. So here we put UTILs, and here we put the product, the output, the quantity of the product that you are consuming. And for it, unlike the demand curve, this one will go and even cross the x-axis. It will cross the x-axis, and this is the marginal utility. This is the marginal utility curve. This point here, where it intersects the x-axis, is indicating 0. That when you are consuming the product, but the marginal utility keeps on going down as you consume more of these products. UTIL 1, UTIL 2, 3, 4. Now, when you look at this diagram, you realize that the first unit that was consumed, it gave the consumer a very high utility. He had a very big satisfaction. If you go by the example we have given of a mango, the first mango had the very high utility. The second one, the utility went down. When he consumed the third one, the utility again went down. When he consumed the fourth one, it went down. Time comes when you get 0 satisfaction at, I don't know, it will be around 6. On the second 6 mango, you will not be getting any satisfaction. You may say, I'm eating because others are eating, but I'm not enjoying anything out of this 6 mango. But the first one, you are very excited. You are getting a lot of satisfaction. That's why if you went to a party, and a self-service, you are going to realize that the amount of food that people put on the plate depends on the time when the food has been served. If you serve the food at noon, before even lunch time, proper lunch time, you find people putting on little food because they feel that is enough to give them enough satisfaction. Now, when you go ahead and serve the food at 4, you find people putting on a lot of food. But at the same time, you may find that they may not even finish the food and you blame them. No, they were looking at the satisfaction they are going to get from that food. But after eating and eating, they realize that they are already satisfied. So they leave the food there. Now that food that they have left there is indicating that it is not giving them any extra satisfaction. That's why they have left it there. And if you force someone, say, you take it, finish it, he may take it and other bad things may happen. That means it has gone to negative. So yeah, he ate very well, he started well, he was excited, he was praising the food that is nice. By the time he reached this level, he was not commenting. And actually sometimes this satisfaction practically, when you look at this satisfaction we have when you are eating and the utility is very high, in most cases you may not even know that salt is not enough in the food. But as you continue eating and the satisfaction reduces, the utility reduces, that's when you start now noticing the mistakes. The salt is not enough, the frying was not good, I think the beans were not ready. So you start now noticing. That is an indication that utility from what you are consuming has gone down or is declining as you consume more and more of the product. Sometimes if the satisfaction has been high and there is no point of reducing, say you have taken only one plate of food when the satisfaction was very high, someone may tell you that the salt was not enough and says, I didn't even feel it. Why? Because the utility you are getting from that plate was very, very high. So that is what we call marginal utility. Marginal utility is very important in looking at the consumer behavior. How you are going to behave in the market, in the consumption, in the purchase of the commodities, so much depends on the marginal utility. There is a relationship between total utility and the marginal utility. There is a relationship between marginal utility and the total utility. And this is the diagram that is illustrating the relationship. Marginal utility, we said it crosses the x-axis. It can reach 0. Now we have 2 points here which we have to note. That is the minimum, not the minimum, but when marginal utility is 0 and total utility is at its maximum. So when you are looking at that relationship, the relationship between total utility and the marginal utility. When marginal utility is, when utility, the consumption is starting, the utility is very high. And that means the total utility is increasing because it's the one which will give you the overall satisfaction that you are going to get from the product. So the first unit is going to give you a high utility. When you add on the second unit you are consuming, the total utility will increase, but the marginal utility is declining, is going down. It is not going up, it is going down, the marginal utility. So time comes when marginal utility becomes 0. The relationship from this diagram indicates that the consumer reaches the maximum of total utility when marginal utility is 0. And the moment it is 0, after that is 0, whenever you add, you are in a negative. The total utility is declining after the maximum point of the total after the maximum point of the total utility. We call it a point of satiety. Point of you are too satisfied. Once you reach that point, any addition that you take of that product is going to be on marginal utility is negative. Total utility will be declining, to be going down. So this point is very important to realize if you're a consumer, that once I reach this point, I shouldn't go beyond that. You have now maximized the satisfaction. There is no more satisfaction beyond this point. Instead, you are going to have negative. You are going to have declining satisfaction. Sometimes they say, those who are looking at the healthy part of it, that it is health-wise bad. It is affecting your body. If it is not affecting your body, it is affecting your brain. It has gone beyond. It has gone beyond where it's supposed to be. So this point of satiety is the maximum point that you should stop at when you are consuming a product. Any extra unit that you will take will not give you satisfaction. Instead, it is going to be negative. Instead, it is going to cause danger to your life, either health-wise or even mentally. You may end up doing some things that are abnormal. Why? Because you have overtaken the product. The extent of the problem will depend on the nature of the product that you are consuming. Because each product has its own dangers when it is in excess. Because the dangers of, say, mangoes will not be the same dangers that you have when you have taken something that has an effect on your brain. So it is very important to know the point of satiety, the point when you are supposed to stop consuming. So when you reach that point of satiety, please don't continue consuming, because you are going to have negative outcome. In economics, we look at marginal utility as a key factor in determining the consumer behavior in terms of products that you are consuming and your willingness to buy the product that you are buying, or the quantity that you are buying. When we are looking at demand, at the beginning we said the most important words in demand, we said, is utility, willingness, ability, time. These are very important in demand. Your willingness to pay for something is very important in determining how much you are going to buy. Are you willing to buy? You may be willing because you are hungry, you are willing to buy a plate of food. But now, are you able? The ability. The ability is usually driven by the willingness. You may not have the money now, but since you are willing to have that product at that time, you may even go work, get the money, and buy the commodity. Or you can even borrow from someone so that you create the ability to satisfy the willingness. But that willingness, what brings it about? It is the utility. Your behavior in the market is driven by the utility. What do you expect to gain from that product? Is it correlating with the price? If it is not correlating, you say, why should I buy it? Because it is not going to give me the good satisfaction I expect. I can't pay that much money. So your willingness to buy that commodity depends so much on the utility that you are going to have from the product. It is very, very important. So we are to look at the relationship between marginal utility and the demand curve. So marginal utility and the demand curve is very important to look at their relationship.